Good evening, everyone. We'll call the meeting to order. Joy, would you please call the roll?
Hamilton.
Yes.
Rasmussen.
Yes.
Revelinsky.
Yes.
Flournoy.
Yes.
Ledger Kalin.
Yes.
Hamas.
Yes.
Hallie.
Yes.
Thank you. Before we start, Council, I want to call attention to the birthday of one Jason Strong, who was behind the camera tonight for Fairfield Media Center. Happy birthday, Jason. We appreciate you being here on your birthday, and I know it looks like a really long agenda, but Council is going to do their best on the way through and get you on your way to your birthday party. But congratulations. Council, before we move to our consent agenda, are there any additions to this evening's agenda? Not, we'll move to consent agenda. We have approval of minutes from the July 13th meeting. We have a resolution for the promotion of Jeff Dunbar, our plant superintendent. Jeff's here this evening. Congratulations, Jeff. And also a resolution of employment in the police department of Brittany Baumert, communications specialist. Approval of liquor licenses for the Best Western and Amore Mio, and approval of claims in the amount of $669,940.85. Entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Moved by Rasmussen, second by Flournoy. Please call the roll.
Rasmussen.
Yes.
Flournoy.
Yes.
Hamas.
Yes.
Revelinsky.
Yes.
Ledger Kalin.
Yes.
Hallie.
Yes.
Hamilton.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Next, we'll move to our public appearances, and I know we have two requests from the Fairfield Area Chamber of Commerce. I don't see a representative here tonight.
Neither the director nor the
Okay.
assistant
Mike.
can make it, but I am currently their chamber board president, so I'll speak on behalf. Every year, we do the annual garage sale, block off the municipal parking lot by the senior center. What's that, Court and Washington? Thank you, Washington. So it starts at 8 a.m. and finishes by late afternoon at the latest. So we just ask for barricades. The chamber staff will put them up and take them down.
Hey, Michael, I can take both requests in one. That's okay, since they're both pretty traditional.
Yeah, the next one is the holiday lighting ceremony, always the Friday following Thanksgiving. It's a big fun event. So they're requesting the parking spaces on the south side of Central Park be closed for the horse and carriage ride.
Move to approve.
Okay. Moved by Hammond, second by Flournoy. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same sign.
I'm abstaining.
Thank you. Next, Council, we move to our resolution and action items. The first is to set a public hearing for the lease of agricultural cropland adjacent to the Fairfield Municipal Airport. You have a copy of what's proposed, but we will this evening just be setting the public hearing for our next council meeting, August 10th. Entertain a motion to approve setting the public hearing.
Move to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Moved by Hamilton, second by Ledger Kalin. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same sign. Thank you. Next, Council, we're going to just talk a little bit about the strategic plan that was an exercise we went through during the month of May and June. And as you all participated in it, you recall that we were led by Callahan Associates in the process, and it was, I think, a very efficient and succinct process. There were two long meetings that we all came together to discuss what our priorities were, what our mission as a city is, and what our vision statement, our core values. The dual track to this is we also had department heads, superintendents involved in the process, also getting everyone's feedback in the process. I think it turned out to be a very good way for us to focus on our priorities, but also reflect on what it is that that we feel we're responsible for in the way that we conduct our government and present ourselves to the public. I want to thank Mike for arranging that and bringing that to our attention to go through this process. I think it would be really valuable on an annual basis for the city to do this. What you have in your packet tonight is a summary of the mission statement, vision statement, core values, and our priority initiatives. You also have the executive summary of all of the feedback that we received during the process. The mission statement reads, "The representatives of the City of Fairfield, from elected officials to employees at every level, pledge to provide quality services in the most efficient, effective, and environmentally friendly manner possible in accordance with our values." The statement of vision, and that is who we see ourselves at in our best form, is that Fairfield exemplifies a community dedicated to providing the highest quality of life by promoting economic development, citizen involvement, and smart and orderly growth while encouraging healthy living, diversity, and sustainability. These two summaries, I think, really reflect a lot of the direction that we have taken, a lot of the initiatives, a lot of the investments that we've made in the community, and where our priorities are. When we discussed our core values as a city, and it was a very long list that I think we all felt very compelled to express, and we did try to whittle it down to something that was maybe a little bit more punchy in terms of hitting some of those core elements, but I don't know that our list was really that small. We've got a healthy list of values here, but they list as honesty, equity, community, professionalism, integrity, tolerance, safety, personal and professional growth, accessibility, dedication, transparency, partnerships, and respect. When looking at our priority initiatives, the number one that came out among both our superintendents and department heads and also the council is that number one goal would be to improve the city's financial condition and general fund cash balances. I know that Ways and Means is working with our city administrator, Mike, on some recommendations in that area. We're going to discuss one of those initiatives a little bit later in the meeting, but that's something that we are going to be very focused on diligently to improve those as quickly as we can. Second priority would be to conduct a city staff analysis, and essentially this is looking at the personnel and the person power that we have behind all of the services that we offer, and seeing if we are doing it efficiently and if there are any holes. Develop a new comprehensive plan. As again, we have discussed this. Annexation of non-incorporated islands within the city. This is something that we're in the process of doing and preparing at this point. Improve our downtown revitalization policies, and again, this is in line with the quality of life elements and the economic development initiatives that we have, that we really want to be a good partner with everything that's going on to improve our downtown. And then finally would be the recodification of the city code, which we all know is desired very strongly as well, to be up to date on that. Our capital improvement policies would be street repair projects, upgrading our fueling facility at the airport, sidewalk construction, and replacing the major filters at our water plant and filter controls. So those are the initiatives that we've set out for ourselves. One of the things that we did discuss was making sure that we got good coverage on what is reflected here. So our strategy is to work with the media on that. So I'm sure you've all seen what we have proposed. Our website would be utilized. There talk about public meetings, from town hall meetings to open houses at city facilities, but presentations to service clubs. Again, I think that it's a valuable exercise for us to embrace what we've set forth for ourselves and to let the public know what to expect from us. But entertain any comments from the council at this time. Okay. Not then, I'll entertain a motion to approve the strategic plan so that we can go ahead and release to the public.
So move.
Moved by Hallie.
Second.
Second by Hammes. Any discussion? Not all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same sign. Thank you. Next, council, we're going to set a public hearing for the sale of the property the city owns at 102 South 23rd Street for August 10th. This will also include the approval of a development agreement that will encompass some of the other things that we are going to expect from this buyer in terms of job creation and performance on the property. So, John, you'll have something for us at that public hearing as well. Then, Mike, good. Entertain a motion then to set the public hearing for August 10th.
So moved.
Moved by Hamilton.
Second.
Second by Flournoy. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same sign. Thank you. Next, council, we're going to review accepting Washington 4th Madison Water Street project as final resolution. Melanie, could ask you to come up and tell us about that the project.
This project was awarded to Pilcher Construction last July. The contracts were dated shortly thereafter, and he started the work in September. We discussed, the completion date was October 30th. He was not done at the end of the year, and we talked about it at that time. He did finish up the project. It was substantially complete, let me see, the third week of May, and then the last couple of months he's been doing punch list items and getting the project complete. So the project is complete. The resolution that you have in front of you gives an option or consideration for liquidated damages on this project.
What does that mean, Melanie?
Liquidated damages are for, and John can maybe give a better, but legally they're for costs that the city incurred because the contractor did not meet the completion date.
I see.
The contract did set forth $500 a day, a calendar day past the completion date.
Okay. And can you discuss the amounts that that would be withheld?
What's written in the resolution is for $16,000 of liquidated damages or 32 days.
And which is taken off of the 29,615.63, which was what was due.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's approximately $30,000 left that the city owes him.
Okay.
This is held in retainage. And so if you choose to do the liquidated damage, it would be taken off of that final retainage.
Okay. And have they been made aware
Yes.
of this? Okay.
And is that number, like your March 31st through the May 1st, is that like a fair assessment, or how did you, I mean, did you give them some leniency, or?
Yep. We discussed at the committee level real informally that the November and December, or the months of November and December were the leniency, so to speak. And then also, like I said, it shows only through March 1st, but he didn't complete till the middle of March. March, it rained every third day. Well, or May, I'm sorry. May, it's rained every third day. So we think those are reasonable. And it's been, and those dates were also set with discussion with the city and the department. And
So if we pass this resolution as presented, it includes those liquidated damages.
I'll let John read the resolution.
Throw one thing at you. Melanie suggested you consider about half of what you could assess for liquidated damages under your contract rights. The fact that you're already being lenient doesn't change the fact the contractor might not be happy with you. The other part of the retainage is just to make sure the contractor does things like do the lien waivers and get his tax final forms filed and so forth. He may balk because of our $16,000 withholding. If he does that, you are authorizing the project engineer and your city attorney to do what would come next, which we would put the performance bond holder on notice and the contractor on notice that he breached. and that we're going to collect that $16,000 from the bond company. That will probably be the end of the discussion because the bond company won't let that happen. At this point, the fact that we've already recommended something that's lenient and that it really is about 3 times as much delay as you're being asked to consider for damages is the reason that I don't think there'll be any dispute with the bond company. But I don't think it'll go that far because I think if there's a discussion between him and his side of the table, they'll realize that there's an awful lot of room here. If he didn't think he could get this done at the start time, and he already had, what, a 60-day delay at the beginning, he shouldn't have bid in the first place. Other contractors that could have started should have had the bid with that consideration, or he should have bid with a contingency that he couldn't start until late, and that didn't happen.
Okay, thank you, John. Any other questions, council? Thank you, Melanie. Then I'd entertain a motion to approve the resolution.
Approve the resolution.
Moved by Hamilton. Second was over here, Ledger Kalin.
Yeah.
Okay. Please call the roll.
Hamilton,
Yes.
Ledger Kalin,
Yes.
Revelinsky.
Yes.
Hallie,
Yes.
Rasmussen.
Yes.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Hammond.
Yes.
Discussion on that.
Your Honor, I need to correct one thing with everybody here before you move on to the easement matter.
Okay. While you're distributing, we'll go ahead and we have a public hearing about the vacation of an easement in Lot 2 of Deerview Estates.
That's what we're handing out.
Yes. And I asked Mike Harmon to go ahead and describe to the council what the 2 steps we are going to be doing in this tonight.
Thank you, Mayor. Lot 2 in Deerview Estates, as you see in your council packet in the map, there is a current utility easement, 20-foot wide utility easement depicted by the sort of the dashed line. That current easement makes the lot unbuildable for the type of home that the owner wants to build on that lot. So he has asked the city to vacate that easement, and at his cost, he will relocate that line, a new sanitary sewer line, and so we'll establish a new easement over the proposed line, which you can see sort of runs at an angle on the lot. So the first step would be vacate our old easement, and then the next step would be to accept the new easement. And again, all this, the construction we've done at the developer's cost.
That is your 3 items.
Yes.
That follow each other in there. What I just handed you was a correction to the resolution about the vacating of the easement. The very last paragraph in what was originally in your tablets didn't have the language in it about the city hereby vacating, so that's all you're looking at that's different from what you had before.
Okay, thank you, John. So at first, we'll open the public hearing on the vacation of the easement and ask if there's anyone who would like to speak for or against. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing, and then we'll ask for approval of the vacation easement for Lot 2 of Deerview Estates as amended by our city attorney, what we've just been presented.
So moved.
Moved by Flournoy.
Second.
Second by Hammes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Thank you. And then the final step will be the resolution authorizing the easement of Lot 2. This would be the new easement over the newly constructed portion. And as our city administrator mentioned, these will be at the developer's cost.
So moved.
Moved by Flournoy.
Second.
Second by Hamilton. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same sign. Thank you. Next, council, we have a public hearing authorizing the application with the USDA Rural Development for financial assistance to develop wastewater treatment, collection, and improvements. And this is a process that has already begun, but part of our process is to, again, hold a public hearing. So we'll open the public hearing at this time, and if there's any public input on this process. Not seeing any, we'll close the public hearing. And Mike, I can just ask you, we had one amendment, I think, that we want to consider for
Yes, thank you.
language.
That amendment is actually in the
Is it in the...
resolution for the election, for the sales tax.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's okay. That is All right, so our next item then is to authorize the application with the USDA Rural Development for the financial assistance. And again, this is for Phase 1, correct? Is that?
Both Phase
doing
1 and the
This is
plan.
Phase 1 and the plan? All right, so this will be Phase 1 and Phase 2. We are making that application, this initial application immediately and being submitted very quickly, and then the second application to follow will be October 1st, delivered October 1st. So entertain a motion then to authorize the resolution for the application.
So moved.
Moved by Hammes,
Second.
second by Hamilton. All
I
those in-
do have one comment.
Yes.
This is related to the $125,000 that I asked the council to go ahead and authorize above and beyond the utility committees so that we can fill out these applications and be able to have them as complete as we can.
Great, thank you, Darren. Any other comments or discussion? If not, please call the roll.
Hammes.
Yes.
Hamilton.
Yes.
Flournoy.
Yes.
Rasmussen.
Yes.
Hallie.
Yes.
Ledger Kalen.
Yes.
Revelinsky.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Council, next action item would be to authorize a contract with Pathfinders, and they would be actually facilitating the application for us and getting this done as quickly as possible so that we are eligible for the funds that'll be remaining prior to the October 1st deadline. So this is something that's already in process, and entertain a motion to approve, authorize Pathfinders.
Move to approve.
Moved by Hamilton,
Second.
second by Rasmussen. All those in favor signify by, oh, another comment? I'm
We've
sorry.
used Pathfinder's RC&D for this in the past, and they've always done a really good job. And we feel pretty confident that they'll do the same for us again.
Yes, they are. They're very good at this, and we're glad we have that resource available to us so that we can take advantage of this opportunity. Any other discussion? Not. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same sign. Thank you. Next, council, we are opening up a public hearing authorizing the sale of a portion of land that we discussed at our last meeting. Mike, I'll have you go ahead and describe what we're going to be doing in the next couple steps here.
Thank you, Mayor. So the next step would be to have a public hearing on the sale of a portion of land owned by the city. The property owner, John Macy, inadvertently built an extension onto his home, and that extension of the home rests on city property. And so in order for him to be able to facilitate the sale of his home, we need to work with the homeowner to basically allow him to move forward with that sale should the council so choose to do so. So we have went into negotiation with the homeowner, and we feel the best option is to sell a portion of our current property. It'll still allow us to maintain the use of that property. We'll also have access to our own property. He will simply have a carve-out of that, if you will, and that a map can be found in your packet, and it will show the extension of his home. The smaller yellow rectangle is the carved-out portion of our property that we'd be selling, and that will be for a purchase price of $2,000.
Okay, thank you, Mike. So we'll open the public hearing at this time and ask if there's any public comment on the sale of that property. Not seeing any, we'll close the public hearing. Oh, I'm sorry. Brandon.
I'm John Macy, Macy Trust lawyer.
Brandon, can you come to the microphone, please?
I don't know if it's worth that. I just wanted to see if anybody had any questions you could ask me. I guess I can say that here. I'm the landowner, John Macy, and the Macy Trust's attorney. So I've been sort of working with Mike and John, get all this worked out, talk to the neighbors and things. So I thought I'm here to answer any questions if anybody has any.
Okay. And some of that work, talking with neighbors, is they understand what's being done and
Yeah,
what
we've
the
got,
position is.
you should have the two letters from the two homeowners on the east and the west, Nadine Cohen and the Barbers, and they both said, fine, no problem, we're all for it.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions for Brandon? Thank you. Appreciate it. So any other public comment? Now we'll close the public hearing, and we'll move to our authorization of sale.
Move
It's a
to
resolution,
approve
yes.
the resolution.
Yes.
Second.
Okay. Approved, motion by Hamilton and second by Flournoy. Any other discussion? Not, please call the roll.
Hamilton.
Yes.
Flournoy.
Yes.
Hammes,
Yes.
Revelinsky,
Yes.
Ledger Kalin,
Yes.
Hallie,
Yes.
Rasmussen.
Yes.
Thank you. Next, council, we're going to discuss something that has been talked about in Ways and Means, and that would be a change in the allocation of our local option sales tax. This would be accomplished by election this fall, and in order to do that, we are on a schedule to declare by resolution that we intend to make this change so that we would be able to have it on the ballot. And I'm going to ask our city administrator, Mike Harmon, to discuss what that change would be.
Thank you, Mayor. As you mentioned in our strategic plan, one of the goals and initiatives of the council is to improve our financial condition in the general fund. To that end, an idea that was discussed is the reallocation of the portion, the 25% rather, of the local option sales tax that is directed into the wastewater utility fund, back into the general fund for property tax relief. So Joy has worked with Allers and Cooney, and in your package you'll see Exhibit A, and this is actually an example of what the ballot language would look like. We are under a deadline of August 11th to put this measure on the ballot for voters' consideration. And so this Exhibit A would be what the voters would see on the ballot. And you can see the change is pretty simple. And under letter A, the proposed use of the tax, we would propose that 25% of the local option sales tax be redirected to the general fund for property tax relief, instead of the current use, which is on page 2, 25% for sewer. So again, I want to reiterate, this is not a tax increase. This is simply a reallocation of the current tax that is coming into the city back into the general fund for property tax relief. With that, I would entertain any questions.
Thanks, Mike. Yeah, I think that we all understand that that this gives the city flexibility of financial flexibility within the general fund by adding that revenue. It will also, I think, the intention of Ways and Means in their discussion of this is to also give us that opportunity to, on an annual basis, shore up our fund balances with a large portion, if not all of the money, going towards that. But I think it is healthy for the city to be in that position of flexibility with those revenues. So that is the intention. The motion then that we're calling for in the resolution is to put this on the ballot for November 3rd. Mike, is that election day?
That's correct, Mayor, November 3rd. And I would add one other change, Mayor. In the Exhibit A, you'll notice in the second sentence, the change in the city of Fairfield was reflective essentially March 1st of 2015. We found that typographical error this afternoon, so it would be March 1st of 2016 is when the effect would take place.
Move for approval.
Moved as amended, John?
Second.
As amended, yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Moved by Revelinsky, second by Ledger Kalin. Any discussion?
One thing that Darren has made clear at our last meeting was that this does not affect the wastewater projects at all, that the McClure Engineering rate study, and hopefully we'll get some of these grants, did not include that 25%. So it's not taking away from anything that we're currently planning on doing.
Great. Thank you for pointing that out again. Any other discussion? Not, please call the roll.
Revelinsky,
Yes.
Ledger Kalin,
Yes.
Rasmussen,
Yes.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Hammes,
Yes.
Hamilton,
Yes.
Hallie,
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Next, council, we have a proposed amendment to our commercial, industrial, residential, urban revitalization plan. Mike, if you could tell us what we'll be discussing here, and then we'll open our public hearing.
Thank you, Mayor. In November 26th of 2012, the council adopted Resolution 2943, authorizing a urban revitalization plan, essentially providing incentives for developers to expand and develop commercial residential property within the city of Fairfield. Throughout the last couple of years, we've found some areas where this plan could use what we feel are some minor changes to expand and open up additional opportunities for developers to take advantage of this urban revitalization plan. So in your packet, you will see a proposed amendment. There are several amendments in there, four namely. And essentially what the amendments would do is update the existing legal language, the legal description of the city corporate limits in this plan. There's a minor change that will basically make the legal description coincide with what our current legal description is. The second amendment would add multi-residential property as an allowable use under this plan. Currently, multi-residential property is not allowed to take advantage of our urban revitalization plan. This would add multi-residential property to the plan. The third amendment removes the verbiage stating that no projects receiving other federal or state grant funding is available to take advantage of this program. We're finding that several projects would like to take and apply for the Iowa Economic Development Housing Tax Credits, and if they receive the tax credits under the current language of our revitalization plan, they are not eligible to take advantage of our abatement plan. So we would like to propose to remove that language from the plan to allow more incentive for developers should they choose to build and expand in Fairfield. The last amendment to the plan extends the time frame of the plan. Essentially, there is no sunset on the plan. This plan would operate in perpetuity until it is repealed by this council or future council. Those are the four amendments, Mayor, and a copy of the entire plan can be found in the packet.
Okay, thank you. Council, any questions for Mike? Okay. Not then, we will open our public hearing on the proposed amendments. Ask if there's any public comment. Not seeing any public comment. We'll move on to the first resolution, which would be adopting amendment number one to the Fairfield Commercial Industrial Residential Urban Revitalization Plan.
Move to approve.
Moved by Ledger Kalin.
Second.
Second by Hammes. Any discussion? Not all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same sign. Thank you. Then we'll move on to our ordinance. This will be established by ordinance. This will be first reading. So again, it will be designating amendment number one to our commercial industrial residential urban revitalization area. Entertain a motion to approve and move from the first to the second reading.
Move to approve.
Moved by Ledger Kalin.
Second.
Second by Hamilton. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same sign. Thank you. Next, council, we have second reading of ordinance rezoning the property on 227th Street from R1 as it comes in under annexation to M2 General Manufacturing District. The property is owned by the Fairfield Economic Development Association. Mike and I attended their monthly meeting this afternoon, and the board discussion at the time was to ask the council if they would entertain suspending the rules and moving to the final reading this evening. And Adam, the rationale for that is that you have some opportunities in application that would help us if we got this done more quickly.
Yes, there's an application going in by Area 15 via the county and the city for a pavement project on 227th. The sooner we can get that in, the better. Before they can submit that, we need to have that annexed and rezoned to M2 so that we can market the property and give our plan for marketing. And there's also plans to install a billboard for some community purposes, and that DOT process takes about 2 months. So if they want to get that in before winter, it would be helpful if they can get that process rolling as well.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, council, this is new property on our perimeter. We have annexed. We are now going through the process of rezoning. I'll ask if we've received any comments at City Hall, Mike.
No, Mayor, I've heard no comments.
And any others, council, any concerns about moving this through to this evening? Okay. Not that I'd entertain a motion to suspend the rules.
So moved.
Moved by Hallie.
Second.
Second by Rasmussen. Okay, we have a motion and a second. To suspend the rules. Any other discussion? Not call the roll.
No. I just want to say this is a non-controversial issue, and we're trying to help this area with its expansion, so I'm very comfortable skipping one reading to get this done.
No, and I think we all recognize the value of the protocol that the council has in not moving things through without good intention or good purpose, so hopefully this meets that for you all. Call the roll, please.
Hallie,
Yes.
Rasmussen,
Yes.
Ledger Kalin,
Yes.
Hamilton,
I abstain due to its proximity to the Iowa Department of Transportation's building.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Amos,
Yes.
Revelinsky,
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Now we'll entertain a motion then to pass the ordinance from the second through the third and final reading.
So moved.
Moved by Hallie,
Second.
second by Rasmussen. Any discussion? Not all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same sign.
I abstain for the reasons stated earlier.
Thank you. The next council would be ordinance 1132. That's rezoning of the property along Libertyville Road from R1 Single Family Residence to R3 Multifamily Residence District. This will be our second reading, so open the public hearing on that first and ask if there's any comment from the public. We'll close the public hearing. Anything that the council would like to add? Any discussions on that? Mike?
We received no comments on that.
Okay. Then entertain a motion to move this from the second to the third reading.
So moved.
Moved by Hamilton, second by Flournoy. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same sign. Thank you. Nothing in my report. John, anything in your city? Committee reports, Environmental and Franchise Utility Committee.
We addressed 3 issues. The first 2, we took no action. We had representatives from Ideal Energy come, and they're continuing to educate the committee on the various solar energy project options. One thing we learned was that any project can deem a certain level of quality of product in the contract. So if we want the highest quality product, panels, inverters, et cetera, that can be something we can put in the actual project description. We also learned a little bit more about the power purchase agreements, the different options. But this is a kind of an education for committee then to come back to council. The idea here, I think Darren summed it up nicely, is that we want to look at this as intelligent economic investment, something that we could make a decision on, this council could make a decision on, that the council in 20 years would look back and think that they were glad that we made that decision, that it was a good decision, and it puts us in a good position moving forward. So we aren't doing this for tree hugging purposes. We're doing this for sound economic purposes.
We don't have any trees to hug. They're all coming down.
We got the little ones. They don't. We also addressed an issue, topic that came up. This was from the Blue Zones organizers in Des Moines. They're encouraging cities that are in the Blue Zones project to consider nicotine-free park ordinances. So we discussed it, and while we felt like there were some benefits, just the enforcement alone is very tricky. It would be similar to the dog waste ordinance, where you would have to catch a person in the act or get an admission from them right after to actually issue a citation. And then the other option is signage, which in our parks, we're not sure we want all the additional signage. The other part of it was that this didn't come from the citizens. This came from, it's more top down. It came from an organization outside of our community, which in a sense doesn't feel like it's something our community's asking for. So we tabled it. We're not saying no. We're just saying if there's a group of people in town that feel strongly about this and want to organize, like if there's a coalition, we'll hear it. But no one showed up to talk about it. I did an informal poll on social media and was really actually surprised. People I consider rather health conscious just don't like the idea of another ordinance for our police force to enforce. So for now it's tabled. The third item we need to discuss. So the service agency, that's city council member, Doug Flournoy, myself, as representatives of the city, 2 county supervisors representing the county, and a 5th impartial citizen. And that board governs the 2080 agreements between the city and the county. So mainly the law center, but also the recycling center that the city has been paying 60% of the annual cost for many years. That contract, it's currently held with Connolly's. Before that, it was Waste Management. Has expired last year. So at the indication of one of the other members of the service agency, I was at the meeting, Mike was at the meeting, indicated that now with the city's single-stream recycling for most of our residents, that we could perhaps look at switching those percentages. The county would take 60%, the city 40%, to make it more equitable in terms of who needs it. The county residents don't pay anything for any sort of recycling, the unincorporated county residents. So they're the ones who really need the facility. Our residents need it maybe when they can't fit something inside of the bin, so perhaps need it less. I brought that to Environment Committee. We brought it to Council. Council approved. Went back to Service Agency. They rejected what they had previously proposed. So rather frustrating. Mr. Flournoy, in his diplomatic attempt to be the peacekeeper, suggested a 50-50 split, which he and the other 2 members voted yes on. I voted no on. So we're not agreeing to anything, but at this point, the only proposal that I was able to take that the council had approved was county 60, city 40, moving forward. So now the 50-50's on the table, or we could just stick with our original. It's up to the full council. And if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
I do have a question, Mike. How much money are we talking about? 10% of the contract, how much is that per year?
10% is probably about $4,000.
$4,500.
$4,500, yeah. So that's how much it is. The reason that it makes sense for the city to pull back its portion is because our waste fund, the trash pickup, recycling pickup, that fund has been in the negative for a number of years. It's one of our balances that's in debt. So as part of our overall fiscal responsibility and shoring up those funds, this would help quite a bit. And then there's the philosophical side of it, that who needs the facility to be open? Do our citizens who have these large bins need it as much as the people in unincorporated county who have no pickup at all? So, I mean, is 10% worth arguing about? It's $4,500. Is that worth arguing about? I don't know. Sometimes I can be stubborn based on a principle. So I voted no just because I felt that we were paying a disproportionate amount for so many years that it was time to make that change, switch the amounts so that we were then paying what's fair.
I would assume that the county does not use the recycling center to the same degree that the city does. Because, to be very honest, rural people are able to dispose of their items much more easily than what those people who live in, in the city. And I guess I feel really strongly that, when we talk about being green and keeping things neat and doing things, I think the recycling center is really one of the things that the city has an obligation to see maintained and to continue it. And I really don't feel that the county should have to share totally that responsibility.
No, again, the city citizens are already paying for curbside pickup.
I really don't, because they're not going to use it to the same degree. If a farmer has something, to be very honest, they will bury it somewhere on that land. That's what we do.
I did another.
What was done,
I've
whether
done a
that's
poll,
the
and
proper thing or not.
That's not what I've heard from people in the county.
But, when you have an item in the city, it seems like sometimes we find it sitting out on the curb, and that's not really where it should be.
Yeah, that's what people said when we ended the curbside trash pickup.
I guess I really feel that things should be left as they are at the present time.
Yeah, we don't want people burying couches in the city.
Exactly.
Michael,
I don't like to see things, I
I
get
guess-
very
well, I-
frustrated when I
yeah.
drive down the street and
That
see
is-
all kinds of things, and it says free, and it's like, I want so badly to say, it isn't free. I mean, get rid of it yourself. And I think that's a bad habit that people have gotten into in this community. If you don't know what to do with it, just put it out on the street and put a sign on it, and it says free. And then a week later, it's still sitting there.
Yeah, well, that's more a result of the fact that the city picked up people's trash along the curb for so many years. I think that habit is ingrained in some people, that is the place to put things.
But
Those things.
that's not recyclable anyway, but
Yeah.
if I could ask Doug to just give his comments on his successful negotiation. Congratulations.
What was the reason?
Mike, you go.
I just like it as it has been.
I asked everybody, the first time I've been to this meeting, I asked everybody how we measured, or where the 60/40 came from in the first place, and no one could tell me. And the arguments for or against were very fluid and anecdotal and with no hard numbers. So I thought the 60/40 was a made-up number, it seemed like. If you look at it per capita, and population-wise, it should be 66-33, city, county.
Well, if city residents had no curbside, maybe.
Right.
So,
So
Mike,
I
was
thought
your-
50/50 was a reasonable compromise. It's only $5,000, not worth arguing over.
45.
And this, so anyway, and again, this is not environmental committee, this is coming from service agency. So are you recommending that we put this to the vote for the council on the
Well,
50/50 proposal?
we can't, as 2 of 7 council members, negotiate on behalf of the council. The supervisors have 2 of 3 supervisors.
No, I understand.
so they can.
I
So-
served on the service agency for
Yeah.
8 years.
So I need something from the
Yeah,
council to take
right.
it back. I'm not suggesting 50/50.
Okay.
But if Doug wants to, that's his prerogative.
I'd like to make a comment. I agree with you, Michael. Yeah, but I think before I would like push it too hard, especially since it's not, really a big ticket item, it would be nice to have some data, because what you say makes sense to me, that, there is no recycling available to county people, and the city people already have it, and so maybe they're using it less than county people who have the opportunity. But it would be nice to have the data and I don't think the Recycle Center currently keeps that data or it has any way of telling. But if we knew what percentage of people were outside of the city who are depositing things there, or even outside of the county for that matter, or depositing things there, it would help us make this case stronger. Since we don't, it's almost like kind of figuring, and Martha may be right. People in the county may just not be in the habit of recycling as much as, as
They
city
recycle
people.
in one of their buildings that happen to be empty until the time comes.
Not
where they
everyone
have
in the
to
county is a
really
farmer,
dispose
so
of it.
there
But
are-
they do.
there are
I mean,
developments in the
They all
county.
put it in the barn, they put it in the,
But there are
some
developments
building
in the
until
county that
time
look
comes.
like developments in town.
And you're not going to make them bring it in and recycle it just because you charge.
People have tried to collect that data and not been very successful.
Exactly. It's very difficult.
It's extremely difficult. We would probably spend $5,000 or more of our energy to figure out whether we should charge them $5,000 on a darn contract. So it's just diminishing return on investment of time and energy.
So 50-50 split really, since we, as population-wise, we really have more population in the city than the county. Maybe they're already paying a higher proportion of population-wise towards the recycling
Well,
center.
yeah.
And so maybe it's not so inequitable as it sounds. And so I guess ultimately, without the data, I would probably just support Doug's
Leave
position.
it as it is.
Even though I really respect what you're doing.
Yeah, again.
Could I make one comment as well? The way that we collect money to pay for the recycling center itself is for the $3 that's charged to the businesses and the multifamily units that are above 3 here in the community if they're on a single water bill. We don't do curbside pickup at apartment complexes. We don't do curbside pickup at businesses. That's why those are paying for this service. You as a homeowner are not putting any of your money into the recycling center. That's one reason why this has been running at a deficit.
It's not entirely true.
For many years. Well,
Yeah, $10,000
very
a year.
minimal, a very minimal portion of that, though, comes from that.
Well,
But-
our portion has been around 26,000 a year, and we collect about 16 through that
Right,
$3 fee.
right. So we're running a deficit
Well,
every year.
we're subsidizing the other 10 from the residential who already are paying for curbside, so they're paying twice now. That's why I really wanted to bring it down, because 40%, if the contract stayed about the same price, we need to put it out for competitive bidding anyway, but 40% is closer to that 16. It's like 17, which is closer to the amount
So
we're
then
actually bringing
that
in.
reinforces the fact that it needs to be at least 50/50 because of the fact that we're having to charge people that are already paying for curbside pickup in order to supplement this, and we need to have that change made.
Well,
I mean,
40% city is closer to the actual amount we're bringing in for the center. 50% we're still subsidizing, just subsidizing it less
but
from the
we're
residents.
taking money away from the single stream recycling is what you just said, right? To supplement what is not being generated through billing the businesses the $3 each business on their monthly utility bill.
Yep.
So, again, we're taking money away from something that we really don't have a lot of money in to begin with because we don't make money on recycling here.
More trash pickup.
The people that provide that services are the ones that get that money, so we have to make it up from somewhere else in order to keep from having this deficit.
Yep.
So we need to have a change of some sort.
Yeah, so obviously 40 city, 60 county would have been better for us to get that fund balance out of debt. 50/50, it just takes more time, but I think it'll eventually get there. And that's the trend we see month to month, year to year, is that debt is shrinking.
I think it's a nice compromise.
The 50/50 is a nice compromise.
Yeah.
So have we had a motion on a
No,
resolution?
I'm just waiting for- yeah, I'm waiting for-
I would
I move
move
to approve.
I'm waiting for a
approve
motion.
Doug's 50/50 proposal that he came up with at the Semco meeting.
Second.
Moved by Hamilton, second by Ledger Kalen. Any last words? Please call the roll.
Hamilton.
Yes.
Ledger Kalen.
Yes.
Revelinsky.
Yes.
Hammes.
Yes.
Flournoy.
Yes.
Rasmussen.
No.
Hallie.
No.
Okay, motion passes 5-2. Thank you, council, for the discussion. I think there are definitely good points made on both sides about the equity of this situation, but I think to move it forward with the compromise, I think it'll be serve us better and really help with that fund balance.
Well, let me just clarify. Now the bid has to be put back out competitively, and the contract might come back more, so 50% of this new amount, maybe more than what we were paying in the past. So just putting it out there, it doesn't necessarily solve our fund balance issue. 40/60 may have helped more, but I
Economic
understand.
Development Committee report?
Not much to really report. The only thing that's really of note is the Lincoln Avenue extension, which is the road right out by Pilot Grove that we were going to extend for the development. Basically, we're going to hold off on that for right now and probably let that this winter sometime for spring start construction, and then June 30 completion of next year. And that's mainly due because of the construction schedules being pushed so much this year. It'll be more economically advantageous for us to wait versus doing it this year and trying to push it. Because originally we were thinking of having it done by like end of November or something like that. So.
Okay, thank you, Jess. Then we'll move on to our administrative reports. Project update, Melanie?
I'm going to change my project update to one sentence, and it's going to say delayed due to rain.
All right.
Really, just if there's any questions, I've spent a lot of the last couple weeks working on the USDA application for step 1. Almost more of a winter schedule. I've been working on design and planning projects rather than construction projects, but one of these days it'll dry out and I'll be able to work on those as well. So if there's no questions, I don't have anything special to report.
One project I don't see on your list is the gym.
Well, I turned that over to Mike and Derek to provide updates on, but I do attend the meetings occasionally.
Oh,
Mike and I can tag team this.
Sure.
Obviously, the rain that is keeping Highland from getting paved is keeping the gym from progressing. The pool, even with the wet spring, the pool was able to complete because they had so much of it done. They had a lot of rock down. They had enough surfaces down that they could keep working. At the gym, they just have not reached that point. I mean, they don't have the foundations backfilled yet because of the rain, and so they can't do the slab and things like that. They are looking at starting, though, on the structure itself towards the end of the month. And they like to have the floor poured before they do that, but they can build it without the floor being poured. So,
Just to add to that, the foundations, the initial construction schedule showed a June completion period for foundations, and we're not quite there yet. So that kind of paints a picture where we're at. Toward the end of this week, you'll see approximately 9 trucks of the pre-engineered steel building roll into Fairfield, and the steel frame of the rec center will be erected over the next 30 days. So that it will really change dramatically now, but we are, I would say, unofficially a month to a month and a half behind schedule due to the rain.
Thank you, Melanie, appreciate it. Mike, anything else to add to your reports?
No, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Then we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Moved by Hamilton, second by Ledger Kalen. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Happy birthday, Jason.